Hi everybody, I am Michael and I'm happy to be here today with Caitlin, one of my longtime yoga students, and today we are going over a yoga asana, the toe tuck pose, or as I commonly like to call the pose when the shit hits the fan pose, because what happens in this position, a lot of things come up, and I like to think what we practice on the mat helps us off the mat. So if we practice a little more acceptance of ourselves, our minds, and our bodies on the yoga mat, that'll happen off the yoga mat. So what could come up or what could happen in this pose is the same thing that happens maybe when you get a flat tire, maybe when you fail a test, things like that. And you have to realize that stuff that happens isn't you. You don't want to become that stuff and you don't want to feed into it. So this could be considered a pretty advanced pose, because you're learning to accept a little more and be content with where you're at. So, are we ready for the pose?
Ready.
All right, so the pose would start off in a toe tuck position, or a squatting tiptoe pose, which we do a lot of times in yoga class, and I think we covered in another video as well. So if you need to, you can look that one up. So squatting down on the tiptoes, what would happen from here, with the toes in the position that they're in, the knees would go to the floor. Now, you can stay here, that's fine, but sometimes this could be a little intense on the toes. If so, the hands would go to the floor next to the knees, and then you put a little more weight in your hands so you're not putting all your weight in your toes and your knees, so that can make the pose a little more accepting to you, or a little more tolerable. Pretty good? All right, she's doing fine in the pose. She's still smiling, so that's a good thing. And of course, you want to remember to keep breathing the entire time. So, another place for the pose is your hands could be on your thighs. So with your hands on your thighs, you're able to really sit up tall and keep the spine erect, because that's very important, having an erect spine, because a long spine is a healthy spine. Next step could be hands in prayer, where you're focusing, you're breathing, you're practicing all those qualities of yoga within one simple pose. Now this could be the part where things really become challenging. The hands could go to the floor behind you. Now, you're really starting to touch some areas in the soles of the feet which could be a little intense. If it's a little intense, you would back off and go to where you were previously. But if you're still breathing calmly, she is still breathing calmly, she's even smiling. Then you might be able to go a little deeper into the pose, physically speaking, by bending the elbows and placing the elbows down on the ground. Now notice the toes are still tucked under. Now there's a lot of muscles working here. She's still taking care of the soles of her feet and her toes. The knees and the thighs are getting a lot of circulation. Notice the spine, really working, being completely open at this point. And then her chest is lifting up. She's opening up her heart in the pose, and then she's stretching out her esophagus, which will definitely help your cardiovascular system. All those qualities of yoga. Still breathing, still focusing while she's here, and yeah, she's still smiling too. So now, the exit from the pose is just as gentle as the entrance. Very easily. The arms would press in. You bring yourself up easily. Now, this is the fun part to get out of the pose, because we're all going to fall in life, and part of yoga is acceptance. So if you can accept falling on the yoga mat, maybe you can accept falling off the yoga mat. So whether you fall or not, just have fun with it. Let's see what we find today, Caitlin. Pop the knees off the floor, back on the tippy toes. Wow. Without a flaw in her breathing as well, but that comes from 10 years of practice. And I don't think it created any stress at all either, did you? No, no stress at all. I couldn't even hold the pose that long. So, that is the toe tuck pose. Thank you, Caitlin. Thank you, everyone. So if you want to tuck your toes, come on up to Yoga Above, or more videos at yogaabove.com. Namaste, everyone.